So welcome to The Late Show Live. Joining me this evening, Adam Brooks and Nora Lee Knotson. And in Washington, D.C., Laurie Watkins. Well, we've got quite an incredible story for you this evening. Shamima Begum, remember her, could now be heading back to the UK as she is said to be attempting to pay people smugglers to get her out of a Syrian detention camp and into Turkey. Let's talk to the journalist behind the story, Andrew Drury, who joins me now. Andrew, really good to talk to you. Thank you so much for staying up. A big exclusive on the front cover of The Express. Tell us more.
Well, you wouldn't believe it, would you? It's hard to believe. I've had messages coming back this evening saying this can't be true, but it is. I can take you back to the beginning, how it started and how it evolved. Around about October time, I received a normal message I get from Shamima and Hoda, her best mates. They're kind of inseparable. Just a normal hello, how are you message. Hope things are fine. It's generally fishing for something. I said, I'm fine. The message would go away. A week or two later, I got another one saying Shamima would like to start trusting you again. What a cheek. She'd like to trust me again. She'd like to start maybe talking, and if you want to interview her, maybe we could have an exclusive. But that has a big question mark. She wants 35,000. She never said money or anything else. She wants 35,000. I've said to Hoda or Shamima, whoever I was talking to, it's not ethical. I wouldn't do that. And then Hoda said that lots of things happen in this camp that aren't ethical. And we've been talking to media outlets already. They've agreed sums of money with her. But I can convince Shamima to it just be you. I've disagreed. Then a week or two later, I've had another message saying, look, how about it? And then she described the money as gummy bears. Hoda wanted 15,000 gummies. And Shamima wanted 15 mints, and she would then guarantee that Shamima would give me the one and only interview that she would give once she's on the outside. I said, look, I'll come to the camp and talk to you. Let me come in. And she says, no point. Drop the money outside and I'll arrange for it to be dropped out. Because what we intend to do is to cross over into Turkey and go to our embassies, because that's what people do. They go to their embassies. And when we get to our embassies, we're going to claim asylum and come back. This left a real heavy burden with me, a weight on my shoulders. It was information I had to do something with. So I contacted my well-known local MP and said to him that I've got information, I've got to give it to you. There's people smugglers, people being taken out of ISIS, prisoners taken out of camps, been brought potentially over to Great Britain. He told me, my MP, to speak to the Chief Commissioner of Surrey Police. What a load of nonsense. The only other place I went was to the intelligence. I called the intelligence services. I left a message on the answer phone. No one got back to me. I then contacted Richard, my journalist friend, who spoke to Westminster, two MPs, one Labour, one Conservative, didn't do anything with it. So I didn't really want this story coming out. It was too big, but it's too big not to be told. And that's where I am now, telling this story to you, Nana.
Wow, thank you, Andrew, for giving us the TV exclusive on that as well. So, Andrew, this is interesting there. So these were a series of text messages, were they, that she was sending, and a friend that you say that kind of joined at the hip?
Yeah, they are. Everywhere that Shamima goes, Hoda goes with her. So it would have been Shamima talking through Hoda. But I consider them both they were like, I was being groomed. That's what it felt like. Obviously I can't be, but I was being groomed. She was kind of pushing me into doing it, pushing me to have this information about this money, thinking it would be too big. I couldn't tell anybody. It was like our little secret. She made it. She said, this is between you and me kind of thing. So she was grooming. These people are dangerous. These girls are dangerous. And another reason I wanted the story to come out is also I learned over the last sort of 2 months, we've brought back 2 potentially dangerous prisoners back into the country. It's not hidden. We've not told, it's not been announced, but 2 prisoners I interviewed in Roche Camp are back in the UK now, without anybody knowing where they are or what's happened. And words has been ringing with me just recently about Shamima is what Sajid Javid said. If we knew what he knew, we would never want her back. I think it's about time we knew what he knew. Why are we being hidden? And I'm just frustrated. I'm frustrated by our government. I'm frustrated. The fact is, we've got open access into our country. I've given them details of smugglers, where they can find them. They do nothing. As part of the Shamima being smuggled out, how many other people have come over?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's frightening.
Hello, I'm Bev Turner. Now, it can feel like the money in our bank accounts at the moment does not keep up with the cost of living. And maybe there's a solution. I'm here today with the CEO of TallyMoney, Cameron Parry. Cameron, what is TallyMoney?
Well, Bev, with TallyMoney, you get a current account and a debit card, but instead of pounds, you use milligrams of gold as your everyday money.
So why gold?
Gold traditionally is a great store of value. It has, on average, gone up at over 11% per annum for the last 25 years against the pound. It's tripled in value in the last decade. And in the last 2 years alone, it's increased by 50% against the pound. Banks' savings products just can't compete with that level of growth.
But this isn't just about gold. This is about a currency that you guys have created at TallyMoney. Explain it to me as though I'm an idiot.
So, look, people need to be able to hold their earnings and build their savings in a money that retains its value and remains in their legal control and remains theirs to access, away from government control.
Great. You had me at not exposed to government control.
You should feel safe and happy with your money. You should have peace of mind. The more money you see in your bank balance, and that's the type of thing we're trying to deliver, and give people choice in the type of money they get to use every day.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Cameron. Thank you.
It's absolutely frightening. Andrew Drury, thank you so much for staying up. Your exclusive is in the Express. If you want all of the details on that big story, huge story, well done, Andrew. Thank you very much for giving us the TV exclusive here on GB News. Much appreciated. Good evening. Thank you, Andrew. That was Andrew Drury. He got interviews with Shamima. He's spoken to her in the camp, and she had been contacting him. It sounds like she was trying to get into the UK. Right, let's find out what the panel make of that. Let's see. Well, I'll start with you, Nora Lee Notson. Wow, Shamima Begum.
It's very disturbing, and this just further underscores our need to secure our borders and really not tolerate allowing not only illegal immigrants in, but known criminals back into this country. It's really disturbing.
Adam Brooks.
Let's remind ourselves what Shamima Begum said in an interview once. She said that UK kids and children were legitimate targets. This is a young woman that has seen beheadings and torture and killings and said she did not regret going there. It didn't faze her. She is evil personified. And look, when leftists say, oh, she deserves to come back, you stick her next to their house and see how safe they feel. As I said, and Andrew said the same thing, I've spoke to someone in authority before who said if we knew what they knew, you would not want her in this country. She's a dangerous woman. And it pains me that she's getting offered possibly tens of thousands of pounds for a story or some sort of exclusive. It really does, because, you know, it wouldn't surprise me if this Labour government sneak her back in some way.
No, did you think they'd do that? Because the thing is, she's stateless, and if she claims that she's a refugee, they then have to treat her like a refugee, even though she's stateless, and, you know, that's how it works. As soon as she says, I've come to claim asylum, that's that.
She's a national security risk. And let me tell you, if she got smuggled over in a dinghy or via boat on this channel, the protests would be off the chart in this country, because it would prove that dangerous people are crossing day in, day out. We know that anyway, but a big name like Shamima Begum, it would just highlight the dangers of what we're being put through.
Well, I'm pretty sure it was the BBC on their Sounds that did I'm Not a Monster podcast with Shamima Begum and gave her a little slot. Josh Baker, was the journalist who interviewed her for the I'm Not a Monster series too. It's just an absolute shocker that the BBC would be doing anything like that. Let's go now to Washington, DC and have a chat with Laurie Watkins, because it would be interesting to hear how the Americans deal with people like this. So Shamima Begum, I'm not sure if you're aware of this story, but she basically fled the UK at the age of 15 with 2 other friends and joined ISIS, basically. So she became an ISIS bride. While she was there, she spoke about how she's seen beheadings and she wasn't bothered about it. Do you know what I mean? The 2 other friends apparently are dead. 3 of her children that she had in the camp died, and she was made stateless by the British government, or her citizenship was basically removed, and now she's kind of trying to head back here and claim asylum.
There have been cases of many people being radicalized here in the United States and going on to go overseas to commit terrorist activities or join terrorist proxy organizations, etc. And they're handled, if they ever tried to come back into the United States, as my fellow panelists said, as a national security threat, right? That they would not be allowed in. There would be serious vetting, and if they found that they committed crimes, they most likely would be they would try to indict them here with a grand jury to try to get criminal or civil penalties against them if they did commit those crimes, especially if they murdered somebody. But these are not new instances. I mean, we're across the Middle East. We've been hearing about this for decades, particularly in Pakistan, for example, something that's going on in Balochistan. The BLA and BLF are taking these women and grooming them. This is slightly different than this woman willingly going over there. But you hear these cases all the time where women are trafficked or women are forced into doing things like them becoming suicide bombers, etc. This is slightly different, I think, than this case. This woman willingly, she was radicalized. She willingly left her country. She willingly moved over to Syria to join these camps. And it sounds like she was absolutely radicalized in the process. And these tricks and twists and turns that she's trying to pull behind the scenes, I am very concerned, especially with the video footage that you showed. And that journalist, I think, did the right thing. Andrew did the right thing by contacting the authorities, and I'm really disappointed to hear that so many did nothing, that they didn't even call him back. That's outrageous, in my opinion. Here we're talking about, a case at the beginning of the show about a prisoner, a criminal that was moved somewhere because of his race, and now you have stories of people calling the authorities with credible evidence and information, and they're not choosing to do anything about it. Time is of the essence. So what if this woman does get smuggled back, right? And there were all of these red flags that were raised and nobody did anything.
We've got Patrick Christie here that uncovered not grooming gangs. What are they?
Illegal camps.
Illegal camps and people that were people smugglers, that were smuggling people over here. And I don't believe Patrick ever heard back either. He had evidence and infiltrated different groups. So if journalists can do it, our Home Office and our authorities can do it. They just don't seem to want to do it. That is the problem.
And the other problem is if she then sort of comes here and says, I'm claiming asylum, well, what can we do with that? I mean, Nora, what can we do if she comes back and says that?
No, which just further underscores why we've got a big problem, why we need reform, why we need change. And if anything, this just helps Nigel Farage and the plans that they have to secure our borders.
Agreed.
Yeah, well, I mean, it will be a shock if she does manage to make it back to the UK. I think there'd be outrage, but then we would have to keep her here. I can't see how they'd be able to deport her because, hey, she hasn't got anywhere to be deported to. So this is where we need a Rwanda. That's why we need a Rwanda, exactly. But the Labour government didn't really think of that. I mean, it's just absolutely ridiculous.
We have a human rights lawyer as our Prime Minister who'll probably end up gifting her a council house rather than putting into some detention centre. That is how crazy and how far we've gone in this country. Again, these sort of people have more rights than me or you know, and it has to stop. And hopefully reform, turn that round and sort out the civil service as well.
I hear you, but a lot of them came in saying with big words when they were in opposition, though, didn't they? I mean, we had the Labour Party just laughing and saying, oh, the way you're handling migration. The first thing they did was get rid of Rwanda. You had the Tories acting as though they were going to do something and never really did anything. Yeah, exactly. So I'm hoping that another party will be honest about it, but I'm not sure whether Reform UK can actually do what they say they're going to do, especially if we end up with the Border Force UK or an army or whoever it is that they try and use to stop the boats, then start becoming all DEI on us, which is what happened with Border Force, Adam. I mean, do you remember that thing when Border Force didn't want to do what was required?
Well, they should lose their jobs. If the elected government of this country tells the civil service or our authorities they have to implement certain policies or certain actions, they must do it. Otherwise, they should be sacked. We cannot have the civil service running this country and unions, and that is what is happening right now. So sometimes it doesn't matter what government you have in charge, these people underneath have so much power, and that all stems from Tony Blair. He weaved in this system when he was in power and took away a lot of power away from elected officials. And Reform have to come in under Nigel Farage and rip that up and start again. Otherwise, this country is going to go to the dogs.
Well, Zach Polanski, he's got a very different idea of all of that. I think he just wants to open the borders and let just anyone in and no sort of checks. But I mean, you need to look at the manifestos of each of those parties. But look, Shamima Begum, I don't know whether she's going to... she's obviously on... I suspect she is on manoeuvres. I don't know whether we've got a clip of a part of an interview that we had with... that Andrew had with her. I mean, she is quite a dangerous individual. Just have a listen to this.
Message for me, if you need to send back to people at home, what would it be? If you said, because you think people never believe anything about you, or what about your mum?
I don't know.
Your mum must. Your mum.
I don't have any messages. I'm like tired of giving messages and not being believed.
What? To even to your own family?
Yeah. If I give a message to my family, I want it to be face to face, not
okay.
over the media. You know, that's very private.
Maybe then I could give that private message for you one day.
No, it's very. My family are very private people, and I respect their privacy.
Yeah, but
so
I mean, they must. As a mum, she must be wanting to know if you're safe or anything. Because my daughter would be, I'd kind of mainly want to be.
I guess she just like watches the media and hopes that a day never comes where she hears that I die.
Right, so look, you can find out more on that big story, front cover of The Express. That was Andrew Drury. He's the guy who collaborated with another gentleman, Richard Ashmore, and they've written an exclusive in the Daily Express about Shamima Begum potentially wanting to come back to the UK and potentially on manoeuvres. Do not miss that one.